Welcome to Next Level Operators, where we spotlight the people building high-performing businesses and how they're thinking about what's next.
Right, welcome everybody. I'm really excited. We have a special guest here today out of the standard roofing industry. Normally we're talking to different CEOs and things like that, but I have Krist Kvalheim here, who has over a decade of experience in tech education. And we got to talking about a concept that I've seen with a lot of roofing companies, and that is that we have these students, oftentimes, at least from what we've seen, athletes and also more interested in construction, that can be amazing assets in the roofing industry right out of school that get a lot of work done. And in talking to Krist about this, he agreed with that point, but also had a few ideas to talk about. So that's what we're going to get into today, is from Krist's extensive experience in working with these students and seeing them go off into industry, what to look out for, and things like that. So we'll start off, Krist, with you. Just if you want to provide a quick background on who you are, I'll let you do that for yourself, and then I'll jump into some questions about the trades.
Sounds good. I'm Krist Kvalheim. I have over 15 years in career and technical education, majority in agricultural education and technology education. And I also grew up on a farm and live on a 106-acre farm overlooking the high school I teach at. Background, I've been teaching these classes for a long time. I've worked with many students, some that go college and some that go career. And goal in education is always that career readiness, getting them ready to go out and join the workforce, whether it's after a couple years of technical college or straight into an apprenticeship program.
And so after working with thousands of high school students, what patterns show up again and again in the ones who go to succeed in the trade specifically?
So the patterns we see definitely follow through with the students that are hands-on learners, the ones that want to be doing before they hear how to do it. And I think one of those things is the getting those students to understand that they can take those hands-on skills and put them into a career path and into something that's going to get them started out there making money, working right off the bat without all the extra sitting in the classroom experience. And so when we look at those students, we try to guide them to those different trades and find an option, something that they're going to enjoy doing that hands-on with. It's always a challenge because you have the students that, again, want to do before they learn how to do. They have that background knowledge of like, I grew up doing this, so I know how to do it better than you're going to teach me. And it's like, well, no, we still have to guide you into that experience.
Yeah.
So that's
that actually... That brings up an interesting question. So I guess, what traits do you think would matter early on, but turned out to be almost irrelevant in real world success? I guess what I'm going after is thinking about maybe humility, maybe not humility, confidence. What traits have you seen in seeing these from interacting with them to succeeding in the trades? What traits do you think those are?
I mean, humility is one that has to show up. It sometimes has to be learned. Teaching them like, hey, yes, you might have done it this way, and you might have been successful, but were you safe? Are you gonna be always successful doing that? How do you and teaching those students the aspect of getting past the biases they come in with, something we work at the high school level, but it's also if you bring on a student right out of high school who comes in also having taken shop classes, having taken that exterior construction class like we offer at our school, or interior construction, and they walk out and they're like, oh, I know how to do this. And one of the lessons I try to drive home to students is like, I will teach it to you this way. But when you get into the workforce, you need to listen to your workforce because they will teach it the way they want it done. And if it's not the way I taught you, which is probably like the concepts will be the same, but the order of operations, the procedures, the quality control standards are not going to be the same in every industry. And how can we, you got to get that student to understand that. And not all students do. Some are forward thinkers and they just want to move right into what they did. I learned it once, I don't need to learn it again. And having those conversations with students right as you bring them into the workforce I think that's something businesses need to like really double down on is like, hey, you've learned things. Now let me teach you how we do things. Otherwise, you get in there a few weeks onto the job and the kids or the adult, the grown up, the young is not picking up what you're telling them, and they're not doing things and following procedures. And it's that we live in a world right now where these students hear and see things so often, and it's getting them to engage in what you need them to do and the procedures you need them to follow through. And that constant reminder in that first month or so on the job of like, this is how we do it.
Yeah.
You're not wrong in what you did, but this is how we do it. Or you're wrong in what you did. That might be it too. But this is how we go through this process and build that confidence in their wanting to learn it the way you do it.
And so looking back on that time, are there students that really stand out in your mind as like you knew from interacting with them that they would be very, very good in the trades?
I mean, and I teach a variety of classes. I mean, I teach everything from foods classes to greenhouse management back into welding, and I've taught advanced cabinetry and things like that. You can pick out the kids in the class that are like, I want to do. I'm looking for the skills that they come in and they're there to get the job done at hand. Sometimes they don't want to dive in deeper. And I see that. You got the kids that are inquiry approach, tell me the gist and I will come up with my own questions. And then you have the kids that here's the instructions. I want to follow the instructions to the T. So ones that I send to the trade tend to be the here's the instructions, follow the instructions. I'm done with the instructions. Now what can I do? I want to move on. I'm done with this. I've learned what I needed to learn today. But some of those are the best workers because when they get on the job, they have that set of instructions. They have that, I need to get this wall framed up. I need to get this roof done. I need to get this task at hand completed. And then from there, you can get them to be engaged in what you need to do. Not saying that the kids that are inquiry approached aren't great, because some of them are the best. I had one of my best students, engaged in everything, all the extracurriculars, participated. I took him to international competitions, and then he goes to be a lineman, and he does 2 years of tech school or a year and a half of tech school to be a lineman. But he had the personality of like always that expansion of learning.
Yeah.
He went to a lineman expo right before he graduated college, and a company is like, "Hey, our sales rep just retired for this entire Midwestern region," and boom, he's now a sales rep because he never worked in the trade, but he had that personality. So there's definitely the approach of like you'll get a variety of personalities, but the students that are gonna like jump into it are the ones that are back to that hands-on. I want to do it. But with that, you have that challenge of how do we instruct them to continue to learn by doing? So
Yeah, it sounds to me like there's a trend that's somebody who is process oriented might be better suited, process oriented, but not very inquisitive, might be better suited for the field work and just the excitement of going out there, working hard, getting a job done, as opposed to on the inquisitive side that might end up being better for, like you said, sales, maybe estimating, project management, operations. Would you say that's the case?
yes, yeah, those are the students that are going to walk out and be your communicators, the ones that are able to relay the information, educate the others about how to get things done, and the ones that are the process oriented. That's a great way to put it. Here's my task. I can do that.
And so that leads to a different question, which is which students tend to outgrow technical, outgrow the roof the fastest, we could say, or other trades, and what should companies do to avoid losing them?
That's a great question. When it comes to it, you'll have those groups of students that are going to walk out, and those employees that are going to love their job and know that it's a stable position. And as long as there's a growth factor of monetary matching growth of time, you're going to keep those kids or those young adults working in that field if they're provided with the opportunity for growth and maybe taking more on the leadership role. The ones that are going to outgrow the path of growth are the ones that are going to be more of like, I'm looking for something more. I want that. I want that next step. I want that inquiry. I want that keep my brain going on learning the next thing. And I mastered roofing. Now I want to master the next part of this. And so you'll see those two different types of employees. And being able to identify that in your workforce is extremely important. Being able to look at the person and go, you want something more, don't you? Let's figure out your next path. Let's keep you as an employee, but like, how do we get you to do the next thing? And how do we get you to continue that process?
Look, if a roofing company wanted to hire a reliable talent pipeline from high schools specifically, where should they start? Relationships, programs, individuals? What's the kind of strongest path you've seen?
So first off, many of our schools, and I'm in the state of Wisconsin, so we do things sometimes a little differently than other states. But we have what's called youth apprenticeship in the state of Wisconsin, and in many of our districts in the state of Wisconsin, we have something called career and technical education, which is an overarching branch of our district curricula. And that branch under that is the agriculture education, the family consumer sciences, the business and marketing, technology education, the computer science world. And so you have all these different career paths under that, and each of those have many multiple career paths under that. Usually, in most districts, there's a CTE coordinator, a career technical education coordinator hired by the district to be the one to initiate those conversations. Sometimes that coordinator is a teacher teaching one of those pathways, depending on the size of the district. I mean, the district I'm in is large enough. We have our own CTE coordinator. Plus, we have under them, there are 2 college and career readiness coordinators that also work towards that process of getting students those youth apprenticeships, getting those students college and career ready, getting those students engaged in the businesses around. So that's the first reach out. Find out who is in charge of the career and technical education. And if the district's small, some districts don't have that benefit. I speak for Wisconsin because that's where I'm from. I know almost every state is involved in career and technical education in some way. It's federally funded, so that's a benefit. There's that getting connected with the high school itself and figuring out who are your technology education teachers, who is doing the teaching of these skills. Some districts, depending on size, don't have extremely good programs. Some states run those schools separately than the standard high school. You have your standard secondary school, and then you have your career and technical education school, which is like, or a vocational school if they're old school and use the word vocational still. And we cut that out of education in 1990, 1996. But the word vocational it still pops up around the nation, depending on where you're at. So anyway, those connections are extremely important. Once you have the connection with the teacher, most states offer what's called youth apprenticeship. So you have the chance to hire high school employees for a couple hours a day or every other day, depending on the district, depending on how it's set up. We send students out, whether it's every other day and they're gone for the entire school day every other day, and they only come to school every other day, or we send them out for like afternoons or for mornings, and they go and they work employed, part-time employment, paid employment, and they get to learn on the job. And a lot of those students go into that career field because they're already working with the employer. So boom, you got a kid who's full attention. You're what I know. I'm still in high school. I'm working, and I'm going to be working in that program. So that's a really, really great way to get that connection made. Once those students are in that program, a lot of them stick with it, or they go to a tech school, learn it more in depth, and then come back to those employees. But I talk to a lot of youth apprenticeship students that walk out and are like, yeah, I'm just working full time over the summer for this job I've worked all year, and they're going to pay for my education, or they're going to pay for my tech school if I stay with them for 5 years, or whatever it is, or whatever the deal at your company works out with those students. And sometimes that's a great way to get into that pipeline. The other thing, and then this comes back to what I talked about in the beginning, is I teach skills. I teach things to these students, but I teach what I learned or what I learned throughout the process of my education, and things change. And so if you have specifics of like, this is how industry does it now, coming back and educating the teachers that are teaching these kids in high school is extremely important, to build those relationships with the teachers teaching it. So when those kids walk out, they know the skills, they know you don't have to do so much reteaching when they come into your employment. So engaging in that high school level is just so important.
That's pretty cool when you think about it. It's just like, it's almost like the business owner being able to essentially leverage the federally funded education system to get free training in a sense, right? Some of the skills that normally on the job, if you're like teaching somebody how to use a nail gun or something like that, you have to be paying them while you're teaching them, as opposed to in this case, if you're like, okay, this is the way that we do it now with the current technology for roofing, then you're training them and then they're coming ready on top of that. I like that. That's really cool.
Teach the teachers. I mean, we're teachers because we like to learn. We like to learn new things. We like to stay on top of our curriculum. Also, almost every state and nationally, there are workshops and conferences that teachers go to learn industry standards. I just got back from a week in Nashville at the National or the American Association of Career and Technical Education Conference, which is every state CTE teachers come and learn and go to workshops. And the industry presenters that are teaching those workshops are the ones we're taking back and going, oh, well, this is the way they do it here. And this is the way they do it here. Let me put that into my curriculum and adjust that. And so, and at our state level, we have our state association of like ag educators or tech educators. And there's different conferences that we go to and learn what they want us to teach. And so if you want to be really engaged with multiple teachers at the same time, instead of just the local ones, you can teach the whole state or the whole nation exactly how you want things done. And teachers are always looking for workshops. We have to have professional development. I mean, my district, I have to have like 25 hours a year professional development outside the classroom. And so we're looking to learn what you want.
Yeah, that when we were talking on the side, I'll bring it up. You're telling me that one of the things that you do is essentially make a small shed. Can you just, on a high level, talk about the details of what you teach them now on the roofing side of things?
Well, so we're at the school I teach at, and this is the course I haven't personally taught this course, but I've audited it enough times with the teacher, and I work closely with the teacher that does it. But right now we have an interior and exterior construction classes to get these students more engaged into construction side of things. And the exterior, they do it's a small little, kind of looks like an outhouse actually, if you ask me. A really squat outhouse because the kids, we don't have ladders or anything, so they're roofing at this level. They frame it out, they side it, they then flash it, and they shingle it, and it's as basic as it gets. I mean, we're talking a roof that is 3 feet by 2.5 feet on either side, and a little pitched roof, and they have to do the top edge, and they have to do the sides. And again, it's what that teacher who worked in construction for years knows coming in to teach those skills. Like the flashing, they can't use a single piece of flashing. They have to like have all the different cuts, and he makes everything more challenging. So you get like the different skills. Like he's like, well, yeah, obviously our flashing or edging or our drip edge is going to be 18 feet long or 16 feet long or 12 feet long, whatever you buy. But even though you could cut a single piece for this edge, you have to splice it twice on this edge to show me how I teach splicing. You have to cut the shingles on this edge, even though you could just fit them on perfectly, because I want to teach those skills of doing that. And that's what our school offers for exterior construction is just a little sample of like, if you were to do a whole house, here's a micro version.
Nice.
Now
Very
we are
cool.
benefited in our district where we have the resources to go out and do that.
Yeah.
Again, come back to that flip side of you want to help us learn how to teach these students. The other thing is when you get done with a job site and you have a pile of shingles left over or edges of shingles or chunks of flashing that is not usable, donate it to your local programs who are doing these things, because we don't care if it's the same color flashing or shingles. We just need to teach the kids how to do it, and our budgets are not that great. So it's definitely one of those things where we are looking for resources, but we're also looking for that education side.
Yeah, nice. That's great. And going back to the individual side in terms of the characteristics of a student that would be successful in the roofing industry, and I'd say specifically in more of a format of starting out, actually going out there and getting the job done, to moving into that path of after you've done it, then going into project management. What characteristics do you think would be best to look for in students if being interviewed for these apprenticeship programs every other day?
Well, yeah. Definitely look for the kids that are go-getters too. And don't forget about the ones that are your athletes who might not get into the extra classes because they're busy in the gym and the weight room, and they might not get that tech ed class or that career and technical class. That is, make yourself known in a community and find those kids at a football game or a wrestling match or something like that. You know, your athletes are a great option of students who have the endurance and the stamina to be out all day. And a lot of them do end up taking those classes because, again, they want that hands-on. You know, football play being directed, you do this, 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 and this is no different than, hey, when you're on the roof, you do this, 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 and this. It's that, can they take instructions? Can they take constructive criticism? Looking at that, understanding that that's also a learned experience. Constructive criticism is something that's hard for a lot of students, especially the ones that have learned it in the past. Now we need to, how do we make that constructive and not just criticism?
Yeah.
And that process of engaging them and bringing them in. It's definitely one of those things where every student is different. Every human being is different and how they handle things, and all their backgrounds come from different areas and different worlds. And so being able to be tactful in how you communicate with your new employees and the students you're picking up to is an important learning skill.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, in another podcast, there was a employer that was talking about how to build teams, and that was one thing that they kept going back to, is the humility, and like you're saying, the humility that is often brought into sports, where it's like all great sports teams, ultimately it's the coach as much as the talent, and in that, finding ways to be able to help them be able to understand what feedback is for, which is just so that they can improve for themselves. So that's great. Do you have any ideas on ways of potentially testing? Do you think that any of these students would, in the interview process, serve from a test that could tell more about what? I was just making that up on my own, and I don't know.
I get what you're saying. You're wondering, how do you, like, in an interview process, engage a new employee on making sure that they have the mindset of growth and the mindset of, I can do this work and I'm here to do this work. I'm not just here to make a paycheck. I'm here to actually be a productive member of a team. How do you gauge that?
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to gauge without some hands-on experiences, like giving them instructions and saying, hey, I need you to take what you know and, like, maybe throw out a couple chunks of OSB and a pile of shingles and a couple nails and say, hey, put those shingles on. And if the kid walks in and says, I have no idea how to do that, that's a good thing too. That's not a failure of the interview process.
Yeah.
But then the real question is, the kid that does know how to do it, give them some constructive criticism. See how they take that. See how they engage it. If the kid doesn't know anything, you can teach them, hopefully. I mean, and if you can't teach them, I mean, that's a whole nother process, you know, your hope that they can learn. The kid that does know or thinks they know what they're doing, can you help them change up the way they're doing? You know, it could be just, hey, that's great, but we would like to see it done this way, or we'd like to see this changed. Would you change that? And it could be just a straight up posed question. Would you change that? And like, no, I do it this way. This is the way I was taught. It's better. And that's someone you don't want as an employee. And it's okay to also tell them that, like, well, your inability to take criticism is why you didn't get this job.
Yeah.
Because sometimes
which would be a great lesson.
It's a lesson for them in life. That's a lesson for, and it's just something, sometimes they just need that.
Yeah. And in that process, I know it differs by the state, but is there an ability to interact with the teachers themselves? Basically say, hey, we interviewed these 10 students. We kind of think these are the top 5. can they interact with the teacher to kind of get their experience? Because obviously you spend many hours with them and might have a good instinct. Is that allowed or?
Oh, yeah. The amount of references, the amount of phone calls I get from employers, kids put down my school number, and I get
Nice.
calls from employers all the time.
Nice.
Hey, can you tell me, da, da, da. Sometimes if they're postgraduate students or they graduated already and they were good enough to earn my cell phone number for reference checks, I won't give them my personal number, but that's a rarity.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's like, yeah, hey, I will always be a reference. I'll write letters of recommendations just as quickly as I'll reference. And I am honest. I am honest with an employer. And a lot of times it's a great way
That's
to
good.
gauge how that kid learns or how that
Yeah.
adult learns, um, to know how to work with them because their teachers have worked with them. Like a lot of students I see for 4 years straight.
Nice. Yeah, and so that just like in the simplest sense for the raw mechanics of hiring out of high school, it is have you ever gotten a call from a roofing company that was like or any trade that was like, "Hey, we're looking to hire." Is it as simple as that or does it have to go through the kind of programming that you described?
Oh, it's as simple as that. Hey, we're looking to hire, or I have because I run a current technical student organization. On my organization's page, I have like employment, a scholarship section, and employers want, employment section where businesses will contact me and say, "Hey, we're looking for 5 employees for this summer, or we're looking for this. Can you share that information with your students?" And I absolutely will share that with my students. And then I, again, always like I will reference and help you do a reference with all those students that then apply. So it's a great way to get students engaged, get your teachers engaged. Teachers are always looking for that resources for their students. Like it's great when a student walks out of my classroom and is like, "Hey, I got a job because my teacher guided me towards this job. And now I'm changing my career path, my goals and options because I see this as something I'm really successful at and something I can do in my future."
Nice. Is there so yeah, I'm thinking kind of on the high level, there's going over our concepts here. So we talked about the types of students that are ultimately good starting out in the more manual labor, process oriented, maybe not as inquisitive. Going back to the more inquisitive type, the kind that intuitively you might think would be a great project manager. Can you talk more about that? What you see in, say, your lineman example that would indicate that they would be better for the longer term and essentially leadership roles in these companies?
Yeah, definitely. I don't want to lump all students into these categories, but we can variously put students into mixed bubbles of the ones that are learning this way and this style and this and teaching those kids how to learn is something I really work on in my classes of like, hey, what's your style? Where do you want to go? And how do you want to get there? Uh, Finding those students, getting students that are on that like I want to learn everything or I want to learn more side of things. Those are the ones to engage in like, hey, check out our business. This is our plan. Come work for us. And then when they go, hey, I want to learn more, or send them to school. Be engaged. There's those contracts out there. I definitely have students that have walked out of um, high school and started working for an electrician company or working for a welding company, and the welding company goes, "Hey, we're gonna send you to college. You work for us for 5 years,
Oh, interesting.
and we're gonna pay for your college as long as you stay on contract for 5 years, and then you're gonna learn and we're gonna move you up in the world of this process, and you're gonna do the welding, you're gonna learn the processes, and you're gonna go on." And so having that, finding those students that are wanting to learn more and engage it more, become employees that want to learn more, provide them the opportunities to grow through your program because you want that longevity. I mean, we talk about right now careers, people are switching careers every 5 years on average.
Wow.
They keep changing. I'm an anomaly staying in education for over 15 years now. but people keep changing. And a lot of that is because they're not seeing growth, and they're not seeing that growth mindset in their employers.
Mm,
Employees, employers are not recognizing that growth mindset in their employees, and that I can do more, I can do better, or I can do something different. And finding those employees that are itching to do something different, like help them get to that next.
yeah. Yeah. That raises another question. Have you heard much within your students or maybe your staff, I don't know, in terms of the looming question of uh, job replacement with AI? Is that something that you've heard much of so far?
It has been an interesting year in education, or a couple years now.
Yeah.
It is definitely something that the students are worried about just as much as the teachers going, how do we teach? We teach this without just condemning it. And
Yeah.
how do we engage it without relying on it completely to overtake what we're doing?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of uncertainty out there with AI. Um,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of students are feeling like, how do I pick a job if I don't know that job's going to exist? And it's
Yeah.
one of the things I was just writing a couple essays about. How do we look for the future of education and hands-on career and technical education? The ability to go and do, like, AI is not going to take over roofing. It's not going to take over.
Yeah, totally. That's one of the things that I see all the time is that in construction, we're a long ways away from a robot being able to do manual labor like that.
Be able to do manual labor. And
Yeah.
so I I sit on our academic career planning committee in our district, and I often go, we need to teach students the opportunities beyond the standard concept of what work is. I like the technical skills, the ability to do things for yourself and to do things with your hands are not going to disappear. And can we teach kids the construction, the trades, I do a lot of agriculture, so the farming, we still got to pick our food. Yeah, we got some robots out there, but there's still going to be a lot of things that need to be human driven and human oriented. It comes down to teaching students and teaching the future that the opportunities exist and that they should take those classes. You know, kids only get so many options. In my district, we offer like 240 some odd electives. And there's a lot of career and technical classes that they can take out of that elective group, but their schedules fill up fast. We still live in a big college push in our world. It's not the answer for every student, and it
Yeah.
shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Because I've seen so many students go off to college, and so many friends of mine, and they come back and they're working the same job that they had when they were in high school after a 4-year degree and thousands of dollars in debt. And they're like, well, I didn't know these opportunities existed in high school because I was told to take advanced classes and go to college because that's what I was told, because that's what my parents wanted. That's what I wasn't directed in a way that was going to be hands-on. And so that push, that education of opportunity to our high school students. And I think that comes down, like, employers need to be like, hey, we're hiring. We need students to take this type of classes. These are the classes your high school offers. Take these classes. We will give you an opportunity. Here's like starting wages at us. You start talking to freshmen and sophomores in high school. Start engaging the students that are going to be the ones that will be the future of your career workforce early enough that they don't take 10 more years to find your workforce. I don't know what the average age of tech schools is now, but 5 to 10 years ago, it was 29, 32 was the
Yeah.
average age of tech school students.
That's crazy.
They
Yeah.
went to college, they got a degree, they didn't find a job, they didn't get a job they wanted, they didn't get the pay they wanted, and then they're back now doing a tech school job or tech school learning to become a welder, to become
Yeah.
and all
Yeah.
that type of thing.
That you brought up a closing question here. So I think it's a closing question. I have one more, but the if you were guiding a contractor, we'll say, so this doesn't have to be roofer, electrician, deciding whatever, guiding students as to what courses, what electives to take in order to be successful in the contracting business. Do you have an idea of what that could be? And if not, I can take it out too.
I
Just take it out.
no, I like when you're talking about a future employer or someone in that community that works like these businesses all have home places. They have communities that they want to pull their employees from because if the employees are closer, they tend to stay longer. You go to that local high school. Like our course handbook is on the internet. Like you can just click on our schools and find the course handbook and you can see what is offered. And then you can go in and be like, hey, this is our future job. We see these courses are offered. Make a little flyer, make a pamphlet. Take these courses, and we'll have an apprenticeship for you when you're a senior. Work with the CTE coordinator in that district to engage what courses would fit best for students to take to become an employee of you. And if you're looking through those course handbooks and you're like, hey, none of these courses align with
What they're looking for.
Yeah, if none of them align for what they're looking for, tell your teachers, we modify and change our courses yearly in my district. Like
Nice.
if I'm saying, hey, this course doesn't exist, but you should make a course on this, and this is the curriculum you should teach, and it would align with maybe these other courses or the intro courses, and this would be a great course, we'll modify and change, or we'll add that into that course that exists already, or we'll modify and make a new course and help that go through that process. So a lot of districts are open to that. Again, because we're not a core class that students have to have to graduate. They don't have to take career and technical classes in most districts. They make it through high school without ever taking one of our courses. And if you're like, hey, we need to add this course and it'll help our employment in the future, we're all about that.
Yeah, I love that. Awesome. Well, that concludes our time. Thank you so much, Krist,
Yeah,
for
no problem. It was a pleasure.
your knowledge and expertise in this. And I'll work with you after just briefly to have some materials to send out added to this. And that way there's just like a little guide loosely nationwide for going through this process of hiring right out of high school.
All right. Sounds good.